and thank you for joining us for Fev's second pre-season game against Dewsbury Rams today, which of course is coming quickly after the impressive 46-6 victory against the League One New Boys Gull Vikings here, of course, on Tuesday evening. James Ford has named a strong-looking squad for today, and we have pleasure in bringing you a full match commentary on what should be another test for Rovers as they continue their preparations, of course, for the 2025 league campaign. It's also another opportunity for us, for all of us, to see the new look squad, the new shape to the squad that's in action today, and with much competition for places across the playing group, we should see another useful and beneficial 80 minutes this afternoon ahead of that new campaign. As I mentioned, a strong looking lineup, and we'll run through the Rovers lineup for you now. You can see the Rovers players just being put through their paces ahead of heading back to the sheds. Prior to the start of this game, Dewsbury have completed their warm-ups, and they're already back in the dressing room with their head coach, of course, who is Paul March. But let's have a look at this Featherstone team then. So much to talk about here. So many big names in the lineup for this 2025 campaign, and many of them on show today. So it lines up like this, with Caleb Akins at fullback, three quarters of Darrell Olferts, Carlos Chumavave, Jaden Hilton and Connor Wynne. In the halves today, it's Ben Reynolds and Callum Turner, and so much strength in the halves, isn't there, when you look at the Aussie Zach Herring, who's on the bench today, as well as Frenchman Thomas Locan. He's on the bench as well. In the front row for Rovers, it's Gadwin Springer, Will Jubb, the new hooker, of course, from York, and Jimmy Beckett in his second spell at Featherstone these days. Second row of Josh Hardcastle and new signing Toby Boothroyd, of course, who's joined Rovers from just down the road from Wakefield Trinity. And then Aussie Clay Webb makes up the starting 13 for James Ford's men. And then a number of substitutes to talk about here. Connor Jones, Robson Stevens, Jordan Williams and Zach Herring, and also Thomas Lacan, Bailey O'Connor, Johnny Openshaw, Max Rhodes and Dan Clark. So a number of substitutes. I would expect to see most, if not all of those substitutes, get some game time at some point during the course of the 80 minutes that's due to follow here. Some absentees for Rovers, just to mention that. Brad Day, I'm told he is being rested today. Danny Addy, he's picked up an injury in pre-season training, Danny, and he has had a minor operation but should be back for the start of the campaign. Gareth Gale likewise has picked up a minor injury but should be fit, if not for the Challenge Cup tie next week, then for the next warm-up game against the Huddersfield Giants on the 2nd of February. And King Vuniyawa, who is not quite ready but should potentially be ready for next week, fingers crossed. So that's the team news for Rovers then, those who are in and those who are out. For the Dewsbury Rams, League One, of course, nowadays Dewsbury, they were relegated from the Championship at the end of last season. Some familiar names in there to some. Paul Sykes in the halves. Paul is 43 years young now. He's just signed up to go around for another season. He, one that you will certainly recognise, and Dale Ferguson, a well-known figure to Championship Rugby League viewers, starts on the bench for the Rams. So Dewsbury line up with Charlie Harris at full-back, then it's Thomas Briley, Callum Jordan, George Senior and Tom Delaney in the three quarters. Paul Sykes and Daniel Coates are the two halves. Jack Briggs, Sam Day and Toby Everett make up the front row, and then it's Luke Mearns, Keenan Tomlinson and Louis Collinson making up the 13 that start for the Rams today. On the bench, it's Jack McShane, William Shaw, Louis Walker, Anthony Boardman, Declan Tomlinson, Jamie Field, and I mentioned Dale Ferguson, who is also on the bench for Dewsbury today. I should have mentioned, of course, on the Rovers bench, I mentioned the names of Max Rhodes and Dan Clark. Both those players are on trial with Rovers still at the moment, so they'll feature as trialists today. So that is pretty much all the team news confirmed for you, apart from the fact that, just to clear up one other bit of team news for Rovers, Johnny Openshaw, I mentioned, he's on the bench for FEF today, and he has now signed, so he's no longer a trialist. He's signed for the club, Johnny Openshaw, so that is great news as far as he's concerned. So, as I mentioned, this is Rovers' second warm-up game within 5 days. They do have one further warm-up game in the calendar, Featherstone, and this is one to put in your diaries, actually, if you've not done so already. The intensity starts to rise in terms of the preparations, because on the 2nd of February at 3 o'clock, Huddersfield Giants will be the visitors to the Millennium Stadium here for a further pre-season trial game. We're due to be underway at 4 o'clock here this afternoon. Conditions are bright. It's a chilly, cool afternoon here at the Millennium Stadium. Pitch is holding up, by the looks of it, really well as far as the warm-up is concerned anyway, from what we've seen from there. And here come the Dewsbury team now in their traditional colours, and Featherstone will emerge from the changing room shortly. James Ford, of course, will have been delighted with that victory against Gull Vikings in what was a historic game in many respects, wasn't it? Gull's first game as a professional rugby league club, but a terrific performance by Rovers, and he'll be hoping to see much more of the same again today. James Ford, no doubt, will be looking to try and see and understand and get a feel for which combinations are likely to work, which ones are likely to work best for the start of the league campaign that's not too far away now. So much experience in there, isn't there, in the Rovers ranks now? When you look at the one of the edges, you know, with Darrell Alfords and Carlos Tuamavave, there's so much experience. Here come the Rovers now then, and Ben Reynolds, the vastly experienced figure of Ben Reynolds now, leads out the Rovers team, and Rovers it will be playing down the slope in the first half then here at the Millennium Stadium. And for mid-January, when you consider all the trying conditions that we've had over the course of the last couple of weeks or so, the conditions are not at all bad. Floodlights on, as you would expect, and the main stand here at the Millennium Stadium is well populated with Rovers supporters, as is the stand over on the far side of the ground, with the Rovers supporters looking to get some early sightings of some of the new recruits here at the Millennium Stadium, as Reynolds gets the action underway then in this pre-season friendly. First use of the ball is with Dewsbury, and they have that possession just inside or just outside their own 10-metre area. Springer is in there at the tackle though for Rovers. Some enthusiastic work there defensively involving Clay Webb as well in the middle. Rovers again strong in the tackle as the Rams look to try and make some headway down the middle of the park. But again, Rovers there in numbers, and there's absolutely no way through, as Beckett was in there at the tackle for James Ford's men, and Dewsbury already on the last. And an opportunity now then for Rovers to get their hands on the ball And an opportunity here for Darrell Alfords then. Former Castleford, Leeds, Wakefield of course, and now very much a Featherstone Rover. And so much to look forward to from him during the course of this season. Now it's Connor Wynne. A brace of tries for him, of course, in that win against the Gould Vikings on Tuesday evening here under the floodlights, as Rovers move the ball from left to right back towards the centre. Solid defence though from this afternoon's visitors. Here's Beckett with the offload, good hands and a great line by Boothroyd as well, coming bursting on at pace onto that ball, but Collinson's in there at the tackle for Dewsbury and he couldn't quite find a way through. Now then, Rovers come forward again into the 20, in possession. The ball will go left. It's Reynolds with his first kick. It's a high one. Who's underneath it? It's an easy take for the Dewsbury Rams. And Keenan Tomlinson's under that without any real pressure. But a decent first set, already showing their intentions there, Rovers. So a good burst by Toby Boothroyd there as well during that set. He was so unlucky with injury, Toby Boothroyd, at Wakefield Trinity last season. Unfortunate, many people felt, not to be retained and not pick up a new contract for this year, as Dewsbury waste possession. 2.5 minutes gone here at the Millennium Stadium, still 0-0, as Gadwin Springer gets some steam up down the middle of the park. Now it's Will Job. Looking forward to seeing Will Job in action this afternoon. The ball going through the hands again. Again it comes out to this right-hand side. Not the greatest of ball, but it eventually finds Alfords. Alfords going across field. Pushes away one, gets away from a second. Offloads eventually to Josh Hardcastle. Hardcastle with head down. And he's tackled just 10 metres away, just to the left of the post. It comes right again. Here's Springer. Springer's going to take some stopping from here. And Dewsbury, although there were 2, possibly 3 defenders in front of Gadwin Springer, they couldn't bring him down. In fact, they could hardly lay a hand on Springer there. And Gadwin Springer gets the scoring underway. And Featherstone Rovers take an early lead. And Gadwin Springer, well, he looked almost unstoppable there, Springer, didn't he? Coming down the slope, looking really fit, looking really healthy. And Rovers just worked the ball back to the middle, fancied Springer. And yeah, Dewsbury, well, I should imagine that their coach Paul March will be disappointed with their goal line defence there. And Springer almost just walked through at ease, quite honestly. But Rovers it is who take that early lead in this pre-season friendly here at the Millennium Stadium. Featherstone 4, Dewsbury 0. And it's going to be Ben Reynolds who will look to try and add on the 2 points. And this will make it a really good start for James Ford's men. So 6-0. The early lead then for Rovers. And next weekend, of course, it's worth just bearing in mind in terms of notes in diaries that Rovers have got a Challenge Cup tie, and it was due to be Waterhead or Lee Miners Rangers in the Challenge Cup second round next week. But I can tell you, if you don't know, that Waterhead have won that game, so Featherstone will travel to Waterhead in the second round of the Challenge Cup next weekend. And I'm told that there's a meeting tomorrow involving club officials to determine where that game will take place. So keep your eyes peeled for news on that one. But that fixture should be taking place next weekend. Confirmation of date, exact date and venue to be confirmed. That's the Challenge Cup second round tie away at Waterhead. Back to the action here though. Featherstone ahead by 6 points to 0. And first sight really of Tumavave, the former Hull FC man. And great signing for Rovers, isn't he? Tumavave, with all that knowledge and all that experience. Big, powerful man in the centres. in the right centres this afternoon. Ball goes left-hand side to Reynolds. Launches a big high kick. Reynolds. Harris is under it. Oh, and Harris hasn't got there. And you can't help but think that Harris just took his eye off the ball there as the Rovers man ran through to put the full-back under pressure. The match official saying the ball went backwards there. And so it's play on Dewsbury Rams at the moment. Maybe a touch fortunate, the Rams there, to come away with that. Looked potentially like a knock-on, not to be. So Fev 6, it remains, Dewsbury 0, 6.5 minutes in we are at the moment as the Rams come forward with Tomlinson. Tomlinson with the offload, it's scrappy from Dewsbury. Another handling error by them, they're not helping themselves so far in the first half here, the Rams. They've not been out of their half with ball in hand so far here. And so far, playing down the slope, it's all Rovers. And I wonder what James Ford's sort of key requirements are coming from this game. I guess he'll, like I mentioned before, he'll be looking out for shape that they've been working on in pre-season training. He'll be looking for some of the players and how they mix. Now there's a chance over on the left-hand side. And Connor Wynne from the scrum. Great move from the scrum by Rovers. And Connor Wynne goes scooting over on the left-hand side. And he doesn't need a second opportunity or ask it twice, does he? Connor Wynne. And he was absolutely flying down that left-hand touchline side. Crisp handling from the scrum by Rovers, you've got to say. Ball quickly out the scrum. Really good hands. Out to Wynne. And Connor Wynne on 8 minutes increases the lead for Featherstone Rovers to 10-0 already. And this, in terms of attacking prowess and a test of their work they've done in pre-season on attack, is showing some really good signs at the moment. Connor Wynne going over the second try of the afternoon, and that continues his try-scoring form in pre-season. He scored 2 against Gould, of course, on Tuesday night as well. So Connor Wynne off to a terrific start in this pre-season so far for Featherstone Rovers. 10-0 here on a cold and getting colder afternoon here at the Millennium Stadium. Pitch though, it looking in really good condition despite the weather we've had. Here comes Reynolds with the right boot, and no mistake from Ben Reynolds, and he converts, and Rovers with an early 12-0 lead then, and Dewsbury with it all to do at the moment. You'll remember, if you like to look back, that last season in the Championship, before they were relegated, the two teams met twice here at the Millennium Stadium. In round 25, Rovers beat Dewsbury 50 points to 12, and in the reverse fixture in round 8, Fev travelled to Dewsbury and won by 46 points to 12. So they did the double over Dewsbury last season, and in this pre-season trial game, I guess is the expression that's used nowadays, isn't it? Rovers have started really well as they try and move the ball in really exciting fashion in back play inside their own 30. Ball coming back towards the middle again. Callum Turner with his hands on the ball there, the former Castleford Academy player, and also the first team as well. Turner made his debut for the Tigers in 2018. Great work down the middle again. Can the support play get there in time? Beckett did really well there. He was looking for the support and he just run out of time in the end. Now Akins with the offload. The ball's gone out to that left-hand side on the last. Sweeping move from Rovers, this from one end of the field to the other. But unfortunately for Rovers there, the ball has just gone to ground. Jaden Hilton it is, who's just put the ball down there at the play of the ball. And the referee was on hand, spotted that, and he has said that that will be a scrum, and head and feed it will be to the Dewsbury Rams. Some light relief as far as they're concerned. Yeah, so we're talking about James Ford and what he might be looking for in terms of his objectives. The combinations will certainly be something that he's working on. He's got the pleasure, really, hasn't he, this season after the off-season recruitment, of so many options all over the field. Really, there's so much competition for places in this Rovers side. Paddy Handley has said during the close season about the recruitment that he feels as though they've really gone for it. Those were his words. And feels as though the squad is looking really strong all over the field. And as I say, that competition for places everywhere, really. It's got to be a really healthy situation to be in as Dewsbury bring the ball away, back up the middle of the field again. Can they get over that halfway line with ball in hand? Well, they're already on the last. We'll see the kick coming now. It's with Paul Sykes. Sykes with that kick, as we mentioned, 43 years of age now, Paul Sykes. And certainly in the twilight of his career, many people will say that he probably has been for some time, but credit to him, signed up again for this season, and good to see him still out there for the Rams. As Rovers with Connor Wynne brings the ball back up towards the halfway line. Here's Tumavave. Tumavave makes about 10 metres again. Dewsbury struggling to put him down. They can't put him down. And it's Will Jubb at dummy half. Reynolds, Springer. Oh, the sight of Springer coming down the middle is so good to see, isn't it? Coming rolling down the slope. Jubb again at dummy half. Now it's with Reynolds. Reynolds with the offload. Good defence there on Clay Webb, the former Newcastle man, of course, down under. And it comes out to Reynolds. Reynolds decides to run it on the last. Feather going to be forced into touch, though, are they, on the far side? And the referee is saying that's going to be the turnover. So they opted to run it there. So on the last, so some inventive play from Ben Reynolds on the last there. 13 minutes on my watch here then at the Millennium Stadium. It's going the way of the home side at the moment. Featherstone Rovers 12, Dewsbury Rams 0. Tries on 3 minutes to Gadwin Springer if you're just joining us, and on 8 minutes to Connor Wynne. Thanks for signing up and joining us for this full commentary here this afternoon from the Millennium Stadium. As Collinson again gets his head down, Dewsbury again are held up on their 30-metre line. The Rovers' defence has been watertight so far, but there's a little bit of daylight there for Sam Day to get through. But again, just prior to that halfway line, Dewsbury will kick, and again they kick from inside their own half, and Featherstone can just regroup and reorganise and feed the scrum. So Dewsbury still, by my calculations, have not had ball in hand inside the Rovers half of the field as yet. So as I mentioned, yeah, Challenge Cup action for Rovers next week then against Waterhead, and then on the 2nd of February, get this one in your diary, of course, I mentioned earlier, it's for the Huddersfield Giants in another pre-season friendly game here at the Millennium Stadium, with a 3 o'clock kickoff on the 2nd of February for that one. Rovers in the middle of the field then, on the halfway line. Slow play the ball. Tumavave's there, but it's into the arms of Springer. Springer stands up in the tackle. Eventually they force him down. Will Jubb waits at dummy half. Jubb spins the ball back to the middle to Reynolds. Reynolds has Fev moved the ball through the hands quickly again. But Dewsbury fronted up in defence well, but again it's a quick play the ball. Jubb is across again to get the ball away. That looks as though it's gone forward though. It was quick and it was precise for the most part, the handling. They're moving Dewsbury around the field, but Rovers just couldn't quite hold on to the pass on this occasion. But all the signs are that Rovers are going to have some quality in their ranks to cause most teams in the Championship problems this season. Of course, Wakefield Trinity rather ran away with things, didn't they, last season, finishing the regular season 13 points clear. It's likely to be a much tighter league, you would think, this season, with Rovers recruiting so well. York have as well, so have the Bradford Bulls. Toulouse will be up there. So it looks like a really interesting and exciting championship in 2025. 16 minutes on the clock then at the Millennium Stadium. Dewsbury in possession, short ball into the arms of Senior. Senior is held up just short of the halfway line. Day at dummy half for the Rams. Now it's with Coates. Coates with the offload. Good hands by the Rams this. Now Featherstone are defending for the first time over on that left-hand edge, and they've done well to get back there. I think Dewsbury have put the ball down there actually, but credit the Rams there. Move the ball well from left to right, and there was a test defensively for the first time for James Ford's men there, and they were more than equal to the test. That left edge Featherstone Rovers defence quickly across, forcing the error, and it will be head and feed in the middle of the park to Featherstone Rovers, who have this 12 points to nil lead. Reynolds is the man who will feed the scrum. Comes out the back to Jubb to Darrell Alfords. Strong runner of the ball, good finisher, also really strong runner from back play as well. We'll see a lot of that this season from him, you would think. Gareth Gale, of course, still to come back into the team as well. Competition for places out wide. Now it's with Turner with the offload. Jubb busy at dummy half. Over 100 games for York, will Jubb. He could turn out to be a great signing and complement Connor Jones really well in the middle of the park for Rovers. 30 metres out. Jubb again, goes left. Reynolds with a dummy. He's going to be held up though. Good work defensively there by the Rams, and there's no way through for Reynolds. It'll come back towards the middle again. Here's Hilton. Hilton's held up 10 metres out. Now then, what I've got Rovers got here, it's going to be a kick from Turner. Kick towards the corner again. Test here for Dewsbury. And actually the ball is spilled in the corner. There's some pressure there on the Dewsbury catcher in the corner. It was pressure coming from Darrell Alfords, I think. And Alfords there has done really well to force the error. He timed his tackle really well, Darrell Alfords, didn't he? Because the Dewsbury man was underneath that. He was the favourite for it. He caught it, but Darrell Alfords was on him like a shot there. Knocked him backwards and forced the error. And it means that Rovers have got head and feet in front of the post, 10 metres out. Callum Turner. The ball comes right. Tumavave with the step. Ball out of the back for Alfords. Well, it looks as though maybe that scrum play on that right-hand edge for Fev still needs some fine-tuning. We're still in pre-season, of course. It's not all going to be perfect this afternoon, but you can see the danger that these two are going to cause some teams in the championship this season, and Tumavave felt he could get Alfords in there. Didn't quite come off this time, but you can bet that it will do in the not too distant future, that is for sure, as Dewsbury run the wall back up the slope. 20 minutes gone on my watch here, and Rovers still have this 12 points to nil lead. They've not really been tested defensively, but as I've mentioned, some really good signs on attack already as ball goes loose and Rovers have the ball back. Rovers, of course, who finished 6th last season in the championship, went down, of course, in the playoffs against the Bradford Bulls, 25 points to 12. It doesn't seem all that long ago, actually, that does it? And we're already back in pre-season action again. Now Turner, Tumavave gets away from one, shrugs aside another, gets his head down and is happy just to take the tackle, but again they struggle to take the big man down. Now it's Jubb, whose distribution from dummy half has been so good. Great hands out to the left-hand side. Wynne again's going for that left-hand corner, but the Dewsbury fence has shuffled across over there, and there's no way through to the line this time for Wynne. Ball back towards the middle again. Rovers with options left or right. Reynolds is left. Will it go that way? Yes, it does. Here's Reynolds again, running onto the ball at pace. There's the handoff. And Ben Reynolds goes on his own, ran onto the ball at pace. I think it was the speed at which he ran onto that ball, Ben Reynolds there, you have to say. And the quality of the handoff as well. Saw the gap, saw the line, and there was no stopping Ben Reynolds on this occasion. And he goes in for Rovers' third try of the afternoon so far. And Reynolds extends the lead to 16 points to 0. We mentioned earlier about the speed and the crispness of the Featherstone handling so far, from right to left particularly. And well, Reynolds have got options on the outside of him as well there, but saw the gap there as Rovers start to make one or two changes. That was inevitable that changes would be made. And we'll keep an eye out for the new men out in the middle as things progress during the remainder of this first half. To Rovers over the years, hasn't he? 32 years of age now, Josh. Back to Reynolds. Reynolds with a kick towards that corner. What's the Rovers chase like? It's really good. And again, Dewsbury are just pinned inside their own half of the field. We anxiously look around the ground to see the state of play with the floodlights. No sign of any light appearing as yet. Still plenty of time for that, with daylight still holding. Here as Dewsbury come down the middle, but there's so much enthusiasm in the Rovers defence, but Dewsbury do get the ball away in the tackle there, despite the three-man tackle from Rovers. Here come the Rams then, with their substitute, Jamie Field. Field is inside the Rovers half. I think that's the first time they've had it with ball in hand. Now it's Harris, the fullback, the little chip over the top. Caleb Akins will come across though, and Akins will again start this next move. And here's Alforts, and we talked about his strength with running from back play there. That is evident again from him. So it's so often for Wakefield Trinity last season. Rovers about 10 metres short of the halfway line, and we've got Rams who are offside on this occasion. As I mentioned, the Rams relegated, of course, from the Championship on League One duty next season, and Oldham and Hunslet, of course, are the new teams up in the Championship this next season. Oldham look as though they're another team actually who have recruited really, really well. And Hunslet, who came up through that epic promotion campaign, if you followed it, to be in the Championship next season. Here come Rovers though down the middle again with more good hands. They're held up about 12 metres short in front of the post, centre field. Here's Turner. Turner with the offload to Reynolds. Reynolds shows it but holds on, and he's wrapped up by 2 or 3 Dewsbury defenders, but Reynolds, my word, has done really well there, and he's held up about a metre or so short. Ball goes out towards the centre again. Ooh, so close for Clay Webb there. Webb is held up just over the line. Again, encouraging signs for Webb there, the former Newcastle Knight, who gets up to his feet and plays the ball. Out again to Turner. Turner shrugs aside one, steps round another, nearly. And he's held up just 5 metres away. Rovers then on the last, 16-0 ahead. 13 minutes to go to half-time. Oh, brilliant work by the Rams centre, George Senior there. Rovers trying to get the ball away, but they can't. And Senior's done really well to prevent Rovers moving that ball further towards that dangerous right-hand flank. And the Rams have saved what could have been another potential try. Rovers have already gone in once down that side this afternoon, and well, we seem to have said this on a fairly frequent basis so far, as Dewsbury have the ball back again, but we saw some good defence from the League One team there. 28.5 minutes gone, all going to plan for James Ford. A big part of today, of course, is about blowing off the cobwebs, working on those combinations and that fitness, but also keeping everything crossed that injuries are avoided in these trial games at the start of the campaign. Still no sign of the power coming back on. Here comes the kick from the Rams then. Daniel Coates it is, collected by Akins, and now it's Alfords from back play again. He's also got a good handoff and a good offload. Alfords, as we've seen it there. Here's Connor Wynne. Oh, Connor Wynne very nearly getting away. He's an exciting figure, isn't he, Connor Wynne, when he gets in the loose. And he's held up there just short of halfway. Spoke too soon about potentially avoiding injuries this afternoon as Connor Wynne stays down on this occasion. I mentioned in the preamble just prior to kick-off that Gareth Gale is not available at the moment, but hopefully will be soon. Rovers don't want to lose Connor Wynne with Challenge Cup action next weekend against Waterhead, of course, in the second round of the Challenge Cup. Ball goes right. Oh, great hands again. Here's Alfords. Alfords going down the right touchline. He's got support inside from Connor Jones, and Connor Jones is just held up short. Webber is at dummy half. Spins out a great ball actually to Reynolds. Reynolds will fire one out to Hardcastle. Ball goes out to the left-hand side. And surely Rovers will be in again here. They are indeed. And Jaden Hilton has gone in on the left-hand corner. Rovers' fourth try. And again, Rovers have moved the ball really well, really quickly. And Dewsbury just couldn't handle it, just couldn't cope with the pace of the passing, the speed of the passing. And it's meant that there were gaps over on the far side, and Featherstone can extend the lead, or have extended the lead to 20 points to nil now, and with a kick to come can extend that lead to 22 points to nil. We will see. And some good news, because floodlights are back on in parts of the ground, so encouraging signs there. So as we look out from the gantry here on the main stand, just to the right of the halfway line, the floodlights to the right as we look out appear to be on and shining brightly now. So it's the floodlights at the left-hand end of the ground from where we look that still need to make a reappearance. We will see. We've got 8.5 minutes remaining of this first half. Rovers 20, Dewsbury 0. As I mentioned, all going to plan so far for Rovers. Thank you all for joining us for this pre-season trial game here at the Millennium Stadium this afternoon, as Reynolds tries one from the touchline. Oh, and it's hit the crossbar and bounced over. Well, he's hit the right-hand post and missed with one conversion earlier. Now he's hit the crossbar and it's gone over this time. So a more positive outcome on this occasion. So we'll just see whether he can hit the left-hand post before half-time. But he won't be worrying too much about that, Ben Reynolds. The key thing is that he is 3 from 4 in terms of his goal kicks this afternoon. And Rovers have now got a really healthy-looking lead here by 22 points to nil. As Dewsbury get the action back underway. Again, they've played one pre-season friendly already. The Rams, they played Batley on Boxing Day, losing by 36 points to 16 in that local derby. And they will also be in Challenge Cup action next week as well, the Rams. But it's all about today as far as this workout is concerned. And it's a really good workout as far as Featherstone Rovers are concerned at the moment. Up to halfway they go again then. Connor Jones. Jones with the offload again. Over halfway they go. Turner again running onto that ball at pace, the half-back. Little chip over the top. It's going to be collected by the Rams full-back on this occasion, Harris. Kick coming in from Clay Webb. And again, it's pushed the Rams deep inside their own half. Webb quickly up there to make the tackle. No way through again for the Rams. That Rovers defensive line looks really solid and imposing at the moment. Difficult to really work out how Dewsbury are going to find a way through here. But this might be the way to do it. As Paul Sykes moves the ball out over onto that right-hand side. Some defensive work to do for Connor Wynne here. They're not going to outpace Connor Wynne on the right-hand edge, but they keep the ball alive and come back towards the middle. Back towards the centre they go. It's with Coates. Where's he going? Daniel Coates. Great hands from Dewsbury. Featherstone stretched temporarily over on that far side, but they've regrouped quickly as the Rams come back down the centre. And now a test defensively for the first time for James Ford's men then. The ball will go out to this left-hand side looking for the overlap and straight into the arms of Darrell Alfords, who was just waiting patiently and was happy to take that one in. Here comes Tumavave, just shrugs aside one challenge there. Penalty to Rovers, says the referee. Hand in at the play the ball. And penalty to Rovers. Here comes the kick. Is it going? It is. Just for a moment it looked as though that might not make it, but it has. Tom Delaney, the Dewsbury England, for a moment was interested, but it did its job and found touch as Rovers continued to come forward with Robson Stevens. Stevens goes to ground. Now it's with Beckett. Beckett with the offload. And Rovers very nearly breaking through. Quick play the ball. Now it's Jones. Jones with the offload to Reynolds. Reynolds to Webb. Webb is held up 5 metres away. What will they do here? Will they go short side Rovers from here and use some of the heavyweights, Tumavave and Alfords, or will they go back to the middle? They go back to the centre. Turner with the offload. There's a burst and a charge and a race forward here, but there's no way through for Jordan Williams on this occasion. Back to Beckett. Beckett with good hands in the tackle. Offloads. Tumavave. Tenacious defending though by George Senior for the Rams. On the last, Rovers. 4 minutes to half time, and the penalty has gone the way of the Rams for some pushing of one of the Dewsbury markers there at they play the ball. The eagle-eyed referee picking up the infringement from Rovers there, and they've not been far off from perfect, Rovers, in terms of their discipline so far in this game. That's their first indiscretion. There's an indiscretion from Dewsbury. They've not found touch. Aikens goes to ground. 3 minutes on my watch to half time. As Rovers build again and look to finish this first half with a flourish. Stevens goes to ground. Jones to Reynolds. Reynolds with the offload to Turner. Turner to Aikens, who's in the line. Aikens with the offload. Brilliant work by Fev. This over on the far side. Dewsbury stretched. And Rovers just can't find a way through. So well done Dewsbury defending there. Great hands. It was great to see, but not Great distribution from dummy half there. A rare mistake by Rovers in this game. Just getting a touch untidy from dummy half Rovers. And the ball has gone loose, and that's some relief for Dewsbury. They've just let them off the hook on this occasion. Update on the floodlights. Still one half of the ground is bathed in light from those floodlights. The other half isn't. So I'm guessing they will need that potentially for the second half. We will see as Dewsbury come up towards that halfway line. Paul Marchett, the Dewsbury coach. It's his first pre-season as their head coach. Came in during the course of last season. They've had such a big turnover. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience and understanding here at the Millennium Stadium. I'm very sad to say that this afternoon's fixture against Dewsbury Rams has been abandoned at half-time. There has been a power outage in the Featherstone area around the ground. So the stadium and properties around the stadium are affected with a lack of power and have been since a period in that first half. So I understand that transmission was lost with about 10 minutes remaining of the first half. So sincere apologies to everyone for that. But just to bring everyone up to date, in terms of the half-time score, it was Featherstone 22, Dewsbury Rams 0 at the half-time point. So after that loss of transmission, a further try was scored, and it was Jaden actually who went in 10 minutes before the break, and Ben Reynolds converted from the touchline to make it 22-0. We'd had problems prior to that with some of the floodlights in the stadium losing power, and sadly the officials at the club here have been unable to reinstate the power, and they've had confirmation at the club here that it's an outage that has affected more than the stadium here. So other properties around the Featherstone area are impacted by this. So sincere apologies for everyone for how the transmission this afternoon has been impacted by the power outage. Just to confirm, at half-time it was Featherstone 22, Dewsbury Rams 0, but sadly the referee has confirmed that due to a lack of power and light, the game cannot continue and the match has been abandoned at half-time. So thank you for joining us. Apologies once again from everyone at the club here. And just to finish on the final score, at the half-time point when the game was abandoned, it was Featherstone 22, Dewsbury Rams 0.